Hi, everybody. My name is Harry Jacobs, and I am the North of 60 Gamer, and we are the North of 60 Gaming Channel. Today, we're going to have a look at Dice Throne Adventures, and I've brought it up in Tabletop Simulator only because it was a little clearer in terms of what I can show you rather than the physical components. And one of the other reasons, of course, is that if you have not purchased the game on the Kickstarter, it's not available yet in retail, and therefore, it gives you an opportunity to, perhaps, if you have Steam and Tabletop Simulator, that you'll be able to go on and play the game and give it a try. There are two types of scenarios: the portal crawl and the boss fight here, and I'll demo a little bit about that. But first, let's just give you a little bit about it. Dice Thrones has consistently been one of my favorite games. One of the reasons is that it's a lot of fun, and if you ever played Yahtzee, you can play this game. The learning curve is really about how you play your characters, but at the end of the day, it is a luck-based game, and you will make sequences and pairs and straights just like Yahtzee in order to do damage to your opponent, in this case, which would be the minions or the bosses. Or if you play Dice Thrones itself, it would be player versus player. The Dice Throne Adventures offers a new element to the game where, instead of PvP, or player versus player, you can now take your various characters and crawl your way through a series of tiles, collecting gold, loot, and dice shards, and I will show you that on the board. All the while, you're using your character's abilities to fight monsters, to gain loot, all while making your way to the end to fight the mini boss. And then, if you complete the portal, you will go on to the next scenario and fight the main boss, or one of the four main bosses. The game is played over multiple sessions where you track your games and score them until you finish all 8 encounters. 1, 3, 5, and 7 are portal crawls, while 2, 4, 6, 8 are boss fights. Both encounter types have their own rules, but at the end of the day, you chuck your dice against the various minions and bosses looking for the ultimate victory. So let's take a moment, and I'm going to show you the board, and then we'll give you some final thoughts. This is a review, so we're not going to really show you a demo, maybe a quick demo of how it works, and then my final thoughts. So here we are. We're looking at the board. Now, I've taken a moment to set up the game. Down here, we have our two characters, the gunslinger and the ninja. The ninja is new. If you had picked up Dice Throne Adventures, they were offering up the ninja versus the treant. So right now, these are the two that I've selected, and I selected them randomly. You can see down here where you have a random option. Here is your loot dice. You get 4 of those in the base game, as well as your unique dice, your cards, a turn order card from the original game, and a turn order card from the adventure game are all components. These, what you're seeing here, for the most part, are in the original Dice Throne, so you're using their components except for the D20. Here I have set up the portal crawl. This is a level 1 portal crawl, and this, you get an option of 2 with this particular game. And the idea is that you're going to set up the portal crawl. There it is there. And we can see, whoops, and we can see the various elements. So we have level 1 tiles, level 2 tiles, level 3. You can see treasures 1 and 2. You can see the healing salves, which are the circles at the top of the screen on the 3, as well as looking at the dice icons. And the idea is to travel the portal to collect those icons, the dice portal parts, if you would say, pick them up, and then go back to the portal to fight the mini boss. In the game itself, you're going to explore each tile. So if we look here, let's just pretend for a moment that we are the gunslinger, and he's going to go first. An explorer basically means you can go as far as you want to go on an unexplored tile. In this case, there are no unexplored tile, and best to go after perhaps down here. And there's 2 over on this side, but maybe we don't want to start with the number 2 because that is usually a more powerful. So he's going to come down here, He's going to explore action. We'll take a look at that. That's the Lonely Shrine. Now, on some tiles, you will see in this corner, a reward. So it could be gold or it could be a combat point. Down here, you may play an ability upgrade card for your hand that costs 2 or combat points or less for free. And then we will spawn a monster. So the spawn the monster is quite easy. You can see the monster cards up here. We would just draw one. And in this case, we have the satyr. The role objective, as you can see, are 2 claws, the chaos, and a burning box. I don't know what that is. And the idea is to get as close to that roll objective every time you roll. So you're always going to try to roll with that in mind. You can see on the right-hand side on the card, it'll deal 5 if you're partial, deal 6, and deal 7. It'll always inflict tangle, and he has a defensive roll. So much like you would the gunslinger. There is no first strike. If there was first strike, it would appear in the box with the satyr. On defeat, the reward will be 1 treasure. So if you want to roll treasure, treasure is up here on the loot table. So if I win this fight, I would roll along the top green section, and depending on the roll, that would be my reward. So anything from a combat, so in other words, the +1 or +2 ups your combat dice, up a couple combat points, you could draw a card, heal, get some gold, a couple green cards are rare, those are rewards. Now we do start, and I didn't show you this, in this particular scenario with 2, we would start with 10 gold. We didn't really do that. And you get that on the scenario card, which is here. You can see we both start with 18 health. We distribute 2 starting salves, and we starting gold is 10. And we will accumulate gold through the game as well. And at the end, we will go do a shopping, which is up here. Whether we win or lose the scenario, upon defeat, we're going to get 3 greens and a blue. Upon victory, we will get 3 greens and a blue. And then we'll be able to opportunity to buy any one of those cards, assuming that we have enough gold to buy 1 or more. We will have at least usually 1 to buy a green card. It costs 15 for that blue card. We will accumulate treasure on our boards down here. However, during the game, if you accumulate treasures, you'll put them under your board. You don't look at them until you're ready to buy, and then you have to identify them here in the shop for 10 gold. So you're going to have to make some choices. You do get to see your rewards for end game, whether you win or lose, but you don't get to see the cards that you win through the game by either collecting these tokens and rolling the dice or winning against these monsters. You have to decide whether you want to spend 10 to identify them. Now, you can sell them back for 5 gold if you don't use them. You cannot do that for the store because it's just a buy. That basically is the portal crawl itself. So if I was to go here, I would have moved my gunslinger to here. We would have done that. Basically, then we would start our turn. Here we are. Start our turn. We would roll our dice. And what do we have? We'll just bring her right in. So we have 6 of these. So we are very close. And don't forget, we would get 4 cards. So we'll just bring them up. 1, 2, 3, and 4. His upkeep phase, he would get +1. And he would draw a card as well. We can see we have lots of upgrades. Okay. But nothing that's going to help us here. We will roll. So we have 4, which is Deadeye. So what we would roll our next dice. We don't mind the Deadeye. Where did it go? Oh, there it is, 6. So we got the ultimate right off the bat. We're going to look at that. Fill them up with lead. We gain evasive. We inflict a bounty. We knock them down, deal 10 damage. Only 9 damage here. Because it's an ultimate, like the rules, unless there's a special thing that allows them, they basically are dead that quick. Then we would just roll our dice. In this case, it's a 5. We would come up to our, look at the 5. We would get 1 extra combat point. Gives us 5. We follow that. There is no defense, or we have another main phase. We don't have an issue. We could then take one of these and perhaps want to update one of our skills for the next turn. That is basically the game itself. So now we're looking at the boss fight here. So the first thing we do is we look at our boss battle, which is scenario 2. Assuming that we've made it to the end of the crawl, we've collected our loot, we will set up the boss. Our heroes, unlike the normal game, we each have individual health, will share 50 health. The boss is set up with 70 health in a 2-player with an upgrade combat point of 8 combat points, and I'll explain what that means. And then we have our starting CP with 2. He collects 2 CP every turn. 1 CP every turn, like a normal boss or a normal player would. So think of him as a player, except he's autumn a run. He has his conclusion or his defeat and victory conditions. The King's Hand tokens are unique. So if he fails to have an offensive roll, he can use one of his King's Hand tokens during his turn to re-roll that dice. And the other use for it is he can negate a ultimate with that. So keeping in mind, these are very, very tough monsters. You will start with the number of salves that you had left over from the last game. So in the case, the game I played yesterday, I have 0 left over. So I have 0 salves coming into the end game or the second phase. So basically to upgrade, and you can see his boss, there's his card, smackdown, low blow. He is the fallen barbarian. So to upgrade, we are going to shuffle the upgrade cards, and we're going to pull an upgrade card. And you can see this barbaric roll for 2 combat points. See, we will find that on his board. There it is. And we will cover it up and draw down his combat points by 2 and flip the next card. He has smackdown 3, so he's just going to put that over there and buy that for 2 points. 3 points for his dot. And I suspect that he will not be getting it. So this one, Barbaric Roar 2. So he will not be doing that one because he already has it. We'll draw another one. So 2 CP, he doesn't have enough. And then we're just going to put these to the side because he is not going to use them. And you can see that is his upgrades for this game. Then play proceeds. Normally, you will take your turn as the gunslinger, and then the barbarian, and then the ninja, and then the barbarian. And he will attack your shared 50 points. The way he does that is, of course, he rolls his dice, and he's going to get 5 combat dice, wherever those are. There they are. And he will roll combat dice the normal way. However, he will draw the top card, and this is his roll objective. So the first thing it does is the active player who's fighting is going to take 4 damage. Before that happens, though, if you notice up on the top right of this card, plus 2 CP, so that's going to give the active player plus 2 CP. Sometimes they have salves. And then he's going to roll for his objective. So he's going to try to get as close to that objective as he can. So he will roll his dice. So in this case, he's looking for 2 of these. Whoops. 2 of these, 2 of these, and this. So he's going to roll these dice again. Again, he doesn't have that. And there we go. So there we go. So he's actually made it 3, 3, and 1. He's going to come over and look at his card, which is this overload. He's going to roll 3 dice and do the damage and then give you a concussion on top of that. They tend to do big damage, and I have really bad luck with this game. So I tend to roll badly against monsters that roll really good. But that's just the way dice thrones go. But that is basically the boss fight. You whittle him down from 70 to 0, or he whittle you down from 50 to 0. Depending on the characters, you can do some big damage. There is healing is a little bit, you got to be careful with your character selections, because if you don't have a character that heals, if one dies, you all die, even if you're playing with 3 or 4. I recommend this game as a 1 or 2 player game. But that is the boss fight in a nutshell. He plays just like you do, except he's looking for his role objective. And then if we win this, we will get our reward, which would be 5. Looks like 5 boss loots. You don't have to take them all, and you actually score points for that. Now, they don't have a scoring sheet here, but the scoring sheet allows you to track wins, losses. If you lose, it's -10. That's the only thing you record. Any gold unspent, you get 1 point for 5. If you explore all the tiles, you get 5 points. Things like that. So that is the game in a nutshell. So let's stop it here and let's go do some final thoughts. So just before we go into final thoughts, I wanted to just bring up the webpage for you. And here it is, the game shop at shop.dicethrone.com. And you can see that some of the sets are available for purchase right through Dice Throne and Roxley. Not sure when the adventure is going to hit. I hear it might be about April, but you can see you can order just the base Dice Throne. Oh, there it is. Dice Throne Adventures available for $75 US right here. And it's Battle Chests 1 and 2 both re-rolled, or Season 1 re-rolled. So if you don't have it, you can buy it. Certainly, many of the stores carry some of these individual type Dice Thrones if you don't want the whole game. But I do recommend that if you can afford it, go out and look at your FELGS for some of these 3, and then the Treant should be along at some point or another. And there's always the battle mats and card backs. The miniatures are awesome. I should really have shown you those live, but they are awesome. $40 US, but it's for 1 set. So you would have $80 for 2 sets. But it is amazing. So I just thought I'd show you that it will be available and is available at shop.com, shop.dicethrone.com. So my final thoughts, what you're looking at on the screen is my particular thoughts and what I judge my criteria against. You've probably seen some of my other videos where I talk about this. So I am going to start reviewing them based on my criteria. Hopefully this helps guide you to whether you can make a decision on whether you want to purchase a game or play a game. I'm a collector more than I am a player, though I did play this game a couple times over the weekend, which is probably more than I've played games all month. I was very excited to get this. But let's start with the theme. Dice Throne is what I like to call a fantasy Yahtzee, but it really is a light fantasy crawler in which you visit locations, deal with tile events, and ultimately fight minions. There's a lot of fun in that box. It's very typical of any type of a game where you visit a location, take an event, kill monsters, get loot, move on. Nothing really new here, but very typical of what goes on. The rules itself, if you can play Yahtzee, you can play the game. The Dice Throne Adventure has more to it than just the original PvP Dice Throne. It really is made easy as you explore and move, deal with the tile event, and fight some minions while gathering treasure, healing salves along the way, looking for dice shards that allow you to fight that mini boss at the portal crawl. The minion and bosses are easy to play with as they throw dice looking for specific rolls, and the closer they come to that roll, the more damage they do. They also have defense rolls and some case tokens that allow you to negate a roll or your ultimate. In the play itself, the game is super playable, whether you go PvP or crawling with your characters. If you have Season 1 and 2 plus the new Treant and Ninja, there are 14 characters to choose from, and the setups are varied, giving you many variations of replay of this game over and over again. There's lots of level 1 and 2 tiles and 3 tiles, so every game is going to be different. Even if you were to replay the entire sessions again, you would have a totally different game with monsters and the tiles that you land on. So you would have a ton of playability here. The components are what you expect from Dice Thrones and the Roxy games. They have great components. They have Game Nerd storage system. This game sets up super fast. You pull out a tray, lay down your tiles, and you're playing within 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how many players you're playing with and whether it's a portal or boss encounter. Very quick setup, super quick teardown. I was going out to Valentine's and ran a little long and was able to put that game away so fast. The solo play, you can play this game from 1 to 4 players. I think it's best at 1 to 2, but it does scale. Beware though, the more players, the less hit points you start with. Some of these monsters can do you in 1 turn. So you could conceivably fail on the first monster, and that would be a very short game. I highly recommend that a 1 or 2 player game is probably the max you're going to want to do. But if you have some friends who want to try it, please do. I highly recommend, if you do have some friends, just play PvP, play teams. You can do boss versus boss fights as well. So there's mechanisms so that you can actually play the boss fights as if you were actually playing 2 characters. So there's a lot in this box. I suspect there's also, I didn't bring it up, but there's also an advanced set of tiles and stuff that are in there. So once you finish the game once, you can add more to it to give you even more variety. So this game, hands down, value-wise, this game is going to hold its value. In fact, I was on BGG and looked the other day, and in fact, yeah, it's expensive. In fact, I think there was a couple $100 for sets right now going on BGG for Kickstarters. So, yeah, it's going to hold its value. The game itself is going to be good retail. I think we saw it there for about 85 US or so. So for me, that would be probably about $120 Canadian. But the game is well worth it. Great components, as I said earlier. So the overall value is great. I think the retail, you'll be able to probably pick up the promos eventually. So I don't think you have to worry about it because there's lots in the box, even if you don't get everything. And there was only really 1 promo set. And so combine it all together with season 1, 2, and the new adventures, you've got a fantastic game. So overall, I'm going to go with the theme, absolutely thumbs up. The rules, absolutely thumbs up. The play, absolutely thumbs up. Components, absolutely thumbs up. Solo, absolutely thumbs up. Overall value, 5 thumbs up. You can't go wrong with this game. I think it's almost a must-have for a group of players if you want to just have some fun, lightweight, whether you play the adventures or the Dice Thrones itself, you got a great game. Thanks very much. My name is Harry Jacobs. I am the North of 60 Gamer, and thank you for joining my channel, North of 60 Gaming.